You're listening to Feathers, a podcast of stories about God speaking and his people having just enough faith to believe him and obey. I hope these stories inspire you and encourage you to take flight in your own faith. I'm your host, Amy Bennett, and this is Season 4, Episode 6. Well, hey guys, and welcome to this week's episode. I am so glad you're here. This week we have Wendy Lupas. She is the co-founder of a company called Gracewear Collection that offers a Christian line of jewelry and accessories. Their signature design is the Shield of Faith that is based on Ephesians 6. Wendy and her sister run the business, and today I'm talking to Wendy about where this idea of Gracewear Collection started and really how God has led them along the way. So here's my conversation with Wendy. Hi, Wendy, and welcome to Feathers today.
Hi, Amy. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I'm so glad that you're here. How about we start off, you introduce yourself and your family.
Okay, great. My name is Wendy Lupas. That's Lupas with an A. I always like to correct that. My husband and I are blessed with 3 awesome children who have grown up so quick. We can't even believe it. I have a 20-year-old son. His name is Sammy. He'll be a junior at Auburn University. I have a almost graduate, an 18-year-old daughter, Molly, who is also going to be joining her brother in the fall. And then we have our little caboose. Her name is Grace. We call her Gracie. We actually call her Little P, but that's a long story. And she's 12, and she kind of keeps us all in line.
I love that. The little ones keep all of us in line. I have my middle daughter's like that. She keeps everybody in line. It was so funny. I was at the office the other day, and my husband, of course, was at home with the kids. And so the elementary ones gets home before we usually go pick up the middle schooler. And it was like 15 minutes past when my husband should normally be picking her up. And our middle daughter went over and like, shouldn't you be picking up Emma now? And he's like, yes. I'm just waiting a minute.
That's exactly what she is. She cannot be late, not even for a nanosecond to anything. She has got it all scheduled out. So anyway, we have a lot to learn from Little P.
Yeah, we need people like that in our lives.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you and I met through a mutual friend, Heather Lamp. Hey, Heather, if you're listening.
Hi, Heather.
So how do you and Heather know each other?
What a crazy, well, not that crazy of a story, but we live in a really beautiful part of the country. We live up in Cashiers, North Carolina, which is about an hour west of Asheville, up in the North Carolina, Smoky Mountains. And Heather's in-laws live here too, and we all went to church together. And Heather and her very talented husband, and Heather is very talented as well, Glenn, for a short little season, left their home in North Carolina and moved up to Cashiers. And we met then. She actually helped assist my husband in real estate. And they were not here for a very long time, but we definitely stayed in touch and had a great connection because she is such an incredible woman of faith. And I was I just admired her stepping out in faith when they moved here. And she's just a great girl. And I believe now they're on the coast of North Carolina. And Glenn is really having amazing success. He's an artist, and he's so very talented.
Yes, it's just been amazing.
Is that where you live,
to see that?
Are you on the
No, so I'm near she lived in Rock Hill, so I'm in Fort Mill. So that's how I knew her. We got together through the IF gathering that we had, our local IF gathering. We were both kind of on the board to like help organize all of that.
Okay.
So, and it was not long that she was here, and then they ended up moving out to the coast. But yeah, isn't it day 5?
It is day 5.
It's Glenn's. And so if anybody's, it's just amazing to see, like if anybody's interested in any sort of sea life art, it's just absolutely stunning.
The colors, everything. I mean, it is so unique. I've never seen anything like it. And I mean, it has taken off. I'm so proud of them. And I mean, the Lord has really, really, taken them on a journey like we all go through. And he's really showing favor and blessing them. And I couldn't be happier for them.
Yes, and I just love that you called her an incredible woman of faith because she's the one that recommended you for the podcast because she said that you were an incredible woman of faith.
Goodness.
So I just love that you guys are friends and you can encourage each other. So that's what I want to talk about today is your story. So talk a little about what you do now, and then we'll talk how we got there.
Okay, that sounds great. Actually, I have to give big kudos to my younger sister, who is my business partner, and she and I are the co-founders of a company called Gracewear Collection, and we design and develop a line of jewelry and accessories, and our called Gracewear, and our trademark design, which is in every piece that we create, as well as our textiles and clothing, is the Shield of Faith. And it's a very unique 5-diamond cross with a scalloped shield around it. And it is all about putting on the armor of God each day. It is a beautiful reminder to spiritually dress. And it's all based on the Ephesians scripture, Ephesians 6:10-18. And what's so awesome about Gracewear, besides just a powerful message and meaning, is that it actually walks you through the entire scripture of Ephesians within the shield. And so it's an awesome reminder. And that's where we are. We have a bunch of different aspects to our business, and I'll be happy to share those if you'd like to hear.
Yes, I would love to. So you guys have a local shop near Asheville?
We do. I mean, the way we actually started was, and I am here to tell you, it is such a God thing, because both Mary and I number one, we are not jewelry designers. We are not product designers. We're not even really shoppers. We both have marketing backgrounds, and we're moms, and, we've always remained very busy with our careers and our families. And so we just laugh a lot that God has chosen to take us on this journey, because people always say, oh, did you go to school to study this? Or, did y'all study design and development? And we just laugh. We're like, oh my goodness, God could not have chosen two least likely candidates to be in the fashion industry. Like, it's so not us, but we give him all the credit. We're just not that talented.
Well, that's the way it goes though. So you can give him all the credit, right?
I mean, we just, really, Lord, are you sure you have the right girls? And then we just always laugh and say, well, that's why it's called Gracewear, because we kind of mess it up all the time. But praise the Lord for his mercies that they're new every day. We did not set out to start the Gracewear collection based on the Shield of Faith. That's kind of part of my journey and story. But when God blessed us with this beautiful design, it was so apparent that it looked like a shield, and that everything kind of came together, and down to the elements of every piece in the design had all the elements in the Ephesian scripture. And so we started out with 4 pieces of sterling silver jewelry, and we were going to be an online retailer. And we started out as an online store in December of 09, and literally launched our website like 14 days before Christmas. I mean, talk about inexperience. We had no clue what we were doing. But we had a great, first run, and, a lot of orders from friends and family, and we did some trunk shows, and I mean, it was really well received, and it was awesome. And then all of a sudden, the end of December after Christmas came in, and, came and went. And all of a sudden we looked at our numbers on our website, and we're like, oh, where did everybody go? Like, it's January, and there's no one on the website. And we thought, well, this is going to be a problem. So we kind of figured out that we probably needed to change our model, and we decided to go into the wholesale business. And so we delved into going to Atlanta. First, we started at apparel market, and then the gift market. And that has evolved into a showroom in Atlanta and a showroom in Dallas. And we actually have even been up to New York and wholesaling to anywhere between 300 and 500 retail stores across the U.S. And with that, we also have a website that we wholesale and retail. And because we live in such a unique, beautiful resort town, we opened up a boutique that really has become, without a doubt, the number one joy and just amazing blessing of our business, which we basically consider a ministry. Because in the retail store, we actually get to tell the story. And we are very intentional about making sure that every single person that knows about Gracewear or walks in the door gets to hear the message and the meaning of the Shield of Faith.
That's so awesome. I guess you would never have guessed that you would have all of these things going on. It's just amazing. So let's back up and actually hear how this all started.
Okay, so here goes. It definitely is a story of grace. I will have to say that I grew up in a Christian family, but I don't think we really ever talked about Jesus. We went to church maybe twice a year. I was born in grew up in, it was a kind of a more of a, how do I want to put this? Obligation that we went on Easter, and we believed in God, but it was a kind of a personal, well, I say personal, private matter, and it wasn't something we talked about that much in our home. And it wasn't until I was married and we moved up to Cashers that I actually started going to Bible studies and really got to know Jesus on a personal level and gave my life over to him. I was actually 33 years old. And my husband and I had left Atlanta, where we both had, pretty successful careers. And we took a huge leap of faith and moved up to North Carolina mountains, which really was such a God thing because we felt like he just directed the paths and brought us up here. And just such a amazing leap of faith. But once we were here, we moved here. My children were very small. My oldest son was 3 and my youngest daughter was 1 when we moved here. And little Gracie, little P, was just a glimmer in our eyes back then. We were in real estate, and it was kind of a booming time, and everything seemed to, really be going very, very well. I wasn't working. I had kind of retired my advertising career, but I was helping volunteer and keeping myself very, very busy as most young moms do, and very community minded, and really discovering my new life as a new Christian and getting into Bible studies, and things were kind of rocking along. And then all of a sudden, when you think things are cruising, God kind of threw a monkey wrench into the whole plan. And my husband, Sam, who we had been married, I guess about 12 years at the time when this happened. Yeah, about 12 years. He was diagnosed with a very rare form of a lung disease that went undiagnosed for quite some time. He was just showing, big signs of kind of advanced pneumonia. And we started on a journey of trying to figure out what actually was wrong with him. And so he had a series of bronchoscopies and thoracic surgery, and we just had no idea what was going on. And he was at the time, I guess he was about 38 and very, very healthy and, a runner and, in great shape. And all of a sudden, this undiagnosed condition just really was frightening. And so basically what they boiled the diagnosis down to, without even really figuring out what it was that he had a lung disease called sarcoidosis, and it's very rare in men his age. And anyway, the only way to treat this was with very, very massive doses of prednisone, which is a steroid. And we really didn't know that much about it. And we really weren't equipped to what it was going to do to him. But basically, all I can say, Amy, is it just basically turned his life upside down, which turned my life upside down just because of the effects of the drug. I mean, I don't know if you know that much about it, but it's you don't sleep, you're hungry all the time, and it definitely affects your moods. Makes you very irritable, and he had started his own real estate company at just about the same time, a little bit before this happened. And so he was trying to keep it all together during the day. We live in a very small community. He's, just really busy in the real, the market was great. And he would come home at night and he was just done. He was just completely spent of all his energy. And life just sort of took a really, really ugly turn. He just kind of...
I'm surprised that he was able to work through this.
Well, it's funny. I mean, every ounce of energy went into keeping it together during the day. And the kids were really young. They had no idea what was going on. And I was trying to keep up the front that everything is fine. I mean, we had sort of this ideal life, young family, very successful on the outside, beautiful, healthy children. And I was trying to just keep up appearances. I think the only person I really shared the pain with was my pastor, and I would fortunately be able to go in and talk to Virginia on a pretty regular basis. She was very close to Sam, and that was it. I just kind of started building up walls. Just everything's fine, we're all good. And Sam, I guess, was doing the same during the day because he didn't want anything to affect his business. And then behind the scenes, things were really, really, really deteriorating. And I guess the best way to describe it is I started putting up the walls and just really, I don't know, just shutting down emotionally, questioning God and, what his plan was and why we were going through all this.
So was your husband a believer too?
He became a believer about the same time I did. It was when we left Atlanta and moved up here. We had a faith. We obviously believed in God, but I wouldn't say that we became born again, turned our faith over and became huge, devoted Christians until we moved up here. And it happened pretty simultaneously for the both of us. So yeah, he did. And he was as confused as ever, of what was going on with him. I mean, it was obviously, you can imagine this vibrant, healthy young man, and he just, couldn't help the way he was feeling. And it was just hard and awful. But, God had a plan in all of it. And, I guess after about 18 months, his health was improving, and they were doing all these, they would do x-rays every so many months. And so they started taking him off the drug. And I mean, it was almost like I could watch him come back. I could see the twinkle in his eye. I could see him start to smile and laugh, and just slowly see him start to reemerge. As great as that was, I just felt like I still was I couldn't really laugh with him. I don't know. The walls were still very, very, very high. But we decided that we needed to get away, and we decided that we were going to go back, to a place that was really special to us. And that was where we had spent our honeymoon, down in the British Virgin Islands. And we were really stepping out because we had, the kids were still small, and, but we decided that it was our 15th wedding anniversary, actually. So we, got the kids, tucked away with relatives, and, set off on this, hopefully kind of a second honeymoon. And we got down there, and the whole time I could just feel something going on. Like I can't even explain it. I was just very, very still, and I picked up a book that I was reading in the airport, and it was all about letting go of the past. And it was all about choices. It was like, if you're not happy, then, it's because you're not choosing to let go of the past. You're letting the past define you. And we all have choices. And it was actually written by Dr. Phil's wife. I can't remember her name, Robin McCall. And I mean, I'm not even really a big reader in these kind of books, but I was drawn to it. So the whole time we were flying down there, Sam had like fallen asleep on my shoulder, and I'm reading this book and I couldn't put it down. And I was like, what? Like, I have choices. Like, I can make a different decision. I can kind of let go and forgive. But it was up to me. That was so foreign to me because I was so angry, I guess. I don't know, just hurt. And but anyway, so we get down to this beautiful, beautiful resort, and I could just I kept hearing like God was speaking to me. It was the craziest thing because I'd never experienced anything like this. And we get down there, and we had taken like the sunset cruise. And you know what, Amy, I'm giving you the long version. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm enjoying the long version.
I'm like, I wasn't going to really go here. But anyway, I will definitely shorten it in a minute. But this is really important. And it's because this is when I really felt God spoke to me. And basically, he said, Wendy, you've got to let go. It was like literally he was right there just whispering in my ear, the time is now. I cannot forgive you until you have let go and you forgive Sam. And you need to tell him that, you know, that even though he was the one that was going through all this, and he was the one that was dealing with all these, you know, all the trials and tribulations of going through this illness. But you have to let it go. You have to forgive him. And with this forgiveness, you will find freedom. And I was like arguing, going, there's no way that I'm going to do that. Like, no, I'm just, it's not in me. And he was like, oh, you know what? Yes, this is what I'm asking you to do. You have got to let it go. Let it go, Wendy. And I just remember looking at my husband, and he was like, oh my God, like, what's wrong? And I did. I like fell to my knees, and I just said, I'm so sorry. Like, I have not been the wife or the mother, or, you know, I have been harboring so much resentment and anger towards you. You are the one that was sick. I have been so selfish, and I hope that you can forgive me. And I am here to tell you, it was like the skies parted, and the music started playing, and it was just the craziest thing. The peace and the weight that was lifted off my shoulders at that moment. And I mean, it was so emotional, and it was just, everything changed. Everything changed. I have chills right now remembering it. And that was the beginning. That was the beginning of me really learning about grace and what God has for us in grace, and how powerful it is. And that's what it was. And it was so out of my control, and it had absolutely nothing to do with me. It was all God, and he did this through me. And it was amazing, and it changed everything. And
well, it was obedience, though.
Well,
you know,
I guess, yeah. I mean, he definitely was speaking to
that's
me.
what. Yeah, that's what
I didn't want to be obedient.
Exactly. Well, that's what happens a lot of times when we do have to be obedient. And that's why obedience is so hard, because a lot of times it's something that we don't want to do. It's against our natural instinct to forgive and to move on. And that's where we need to sometimes just believe that God really, his ways are really good, and that when we hand these hurts and pains over to him and let his grace in, that it's for good and it's okay. And that's what I love about, I'm just so passionate about obedience, is because in the moment it's like, no way, I can't do this. I don't have the strength to do this. I don't want to do this, even if I did. And if we can just trust God and his ways, then it's for our freedom. It's not for, it's not for him. It is for him, but it brings such freedom to our relationships and into our lives. So how did we move on from that moment of freedom and grace for you to getting to Gracewear?
Okay, so that is definitely a journey, because I had absolutely no idea where, I had no plans, obviously, to start a company that was ministry driven, but God had other ideas. He continued. It was Jeremiah 29:11. I mean, it was morning, noon, and night. For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper, not to harm, plans to give you hope in the future. I mean, it was on my heart, on my mind, 24/7. And I just kept going, Lord, what is this? And I just knew without a doubt that he wanted me to share the message of grace with others. But I had no idea how. I mean, I had no idea. So I actually shared it with my sister, who is now my business partner. She was living down in Savannah. We were in North Carolina. And it really spoke to her as well, because she too has had, definitely her own journey of grace. And I just said, Mary, I don't know what this is, but I feel so strongly that God has got a plan in all this. And I would like for you to partner with me, and let's do this together. And with that, it started in so many different directions. I mean, we were talking about doing a clothing line called Gracewear. We were looking at accessories. We were going in all kinds of different directions for actually a couple years. We had hired a textile designer up in New York. I love this story because she's Jewish. And I came across her designs just through my infamous researching I was doing at the time. And I said she had a very whimsical, beautiful style to her textiles, very contemporary, but traditional, kind of a preppy look. And I just loved that. But what was so funny is every time she would design for us, these little crosses would appear in the design. And I didn't tell her that I wanted like hidden crosses in my designs, but that was really kind of what we were going for, sort of the Lily Pulitzer hidden, little lily in each design. And one day I just said, Beth, I just love what you're coming up with. And I just love that everything has like these little crosses. And she said, oh my goodness, I cannot believe it that you see that too. She goes, I don't know what it is, but every time I design for you, these little crosses appear in my design. And I just started laughing so hard. And I said, Beth, I'm a Christian, and this is a Christian-based business, and that's exactly what I was hoping. So anyway, long story short, we got a great big laugh. I kept telling her, that anyway, we just always had a big laugh about that. Amazing. It was so funny. And I said, oh yeah, Jesus is everywhere, Beth. Don't you deny it. But anyway, anyway, that was fun. But long story short, we started in so many different directions, just not really knowing where God wanted us to take the message of grace. And doors opened and closed. And I'm telling you, we had one really close with our clothing design business. And it was right in 2008 when kind of the world fell apart. And when I say the world fell apart, it wasn't just for us, but it was for so many. The recession hit. Our real estate business just went completely south. My research dollars completely dried up, and we decided to close the door on 2.5 years of product development for a clothing line. And it was pretty devastating because we had trusted that God really had it, and it was leading us down this path. We were very intentional about prayer and every decision we made. And when that door closed, we were kind of devastated. In fact, my sister had already moved to North Carolina, her family, because we had this grand plan to start this enterprise, whatever. But I had sort of forgotten, but I had sent a piece of jewelry off to be designed. It was a 5-diamond cross that my Beth had designed for us. And I had sent it off a couple of months before we decided not to move forward with the business. And my jewelry designer put a little scalloped shield around it. And I sent it to a jewelry designer up in New York. And I really did sort of forget about it. It was just going to be one element to go with the clothing. It was going to be, we were going to have some jewelry. So I guess we decided not to move forward with the business in July of 2008. And about September, this really weird package arrived to my office, and I always laugh about, remember the Unabomber, that those weird packages are like wrapped in duct tape? That's what it looked like. It was like a manila envelope, triple wrapped in duct tape. And I was like, oh my goodness, what is this? And it said New York, New York. And I was like, okay, well, you know what? I don't think it's a bomb. So let's open it. I think we're good. We're in Cashers. So I opened it, and there were two beautiful sterling silver necklaces. I say beautiful. I actually opened them. It was the shield, and it was our original sterling necklace. And there were two of them. And I looked at Mary, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'd totally forgotten that we had these designed. What do you think? And we didn't even really know if we liked it. We were like, I like it. It's unique. It's pretty. I said, okay, here's the deal. They're two. Let's just put them on. So we put them on, and that was like a Friday. We went to church on Sunday, and so many of my friends that had been through this crazy, clothing enterprise journey with us, one in particular came up to me, and she said, excuse me, what is that around your neck? Like, Wendy, what is that? And I was like, do you like it? Like, what do you think? And she's like, it's fabulous. And I was like, no, seriously, what do you think? And she was like, one of my best friends. She actually does my creative for me now. And she said, no, I'm not kidding. Like, that is incredible. And I said, really? And I said, okay, well, this is what I think if you really love the design, then this is what we're going to do. We're going to move forward. We are going to start with a jewelry collection, and it looks like a shield. And I think, this is where Gracewear is going to start. And Amy, I kid you not, in like 5 minutes, we had redesigned our website, because we had already had a website. We had 3 investors. We had packaging, a manufacturer. I mean, the doors flew open, and God's absolutely made the path so clear that this is where He wanted us to start. And that's how Gracewear started.
And that's when we get to the right before December?
Yes,
right before Christmas?
Absolutely, exactly. So we launched our website. We did trunk shows, and we launched before Christmas, and exactly. So there you are. Brought it full circle. And then we started into wholesale. And we're in year 7 right now. And, I would love to say, oh, it's just been incredible. Like, oh, my goodness, our obedience has been completely blessed and only favor's been shown. But, that's not the case. It's a journey, and it's a struggle. And it's Mary and I, and we are not jewelry designers, but God has been very, very faithful to us, and incredible to hold our hand as we try so hard to trust Him and be obedient. But it's we're not a big corporation, and we have been out there in the wholesale arena dealing with big companies that have deep pockets, and but He's been faithful, and we have grown, and we are growing, and we're actually know that He is in it and with it. And as long as we can continue to make it about Him and the message and meaning that is the absolute core and genesis for Gracewear, that He'll continue to light our path and light the way. And we're actually going to be making some changes. I'm not privy to announce kind of some of the sales models that we're looking at, but we are very intentional that sometimes in the secular world, the message and meaning seems to get lost, and we really cannot let or deny that that's what Gracewear is all about. It's more than just a pretty piece of jewelry and accessories. It is powerful. It is purposeful. And it is, everyone is fighting a battle of some kind. Everyone, I don't care what they say. And every battle, no matter whether it's, an illness or a death or just having a really bad day, the adversary is out there to get us in any which way. And if we're not dressed for those battles, it's, those flaming arrows will get through. And, that's the story that we have to tell. And we tell every day with Gracewear is, we have got to suit up for the battle, because even if you are not going through one right now, there's another one around the corner. It's just the way it is.
Jesus says we will have trouble, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, so what would be like your big hope as somebody would have the piece of jewelry or have a piece of, well, tell us first about how many different products you guys have, because it's not just jewelry now, right?
It has been kind of crazy how it's grown. We started out with 4 pieces, all sterling. And when we got into the wholesale market, we immediately, that was when silver sterling prices were rising. And we decided to change and go to a more of a sterling plated product. And then silver was kind of going out, gold was coming in. So we have brought in both silver and gold, and we are now over 200 pieces, different styles. We first launched into a more traditional, polished look with our gold and silver plate jewelry. We are definitely considered fashion jewelry, but it's high-end fashion. When I say high-end, I mean that in quality, not necessarily in price. We wholesale or we retail everything barely over $100. Our average retail price is probably $40, $45. Everything comes beautifully packaged in like this really pretty suede pouch. And then every piece comes with a scripture card that talks about, the importance of spiritually dressing. And then you turn it over and it walks you through the whole elements of the shield based on the Ephesian scripture. So that comes with every piece, and it's when you order online, we provide beautiful packaging with custom ribbon and boxes and things. So it makes a beautiful gift with purpose. As far as pieces, we, like I said, it really has grown, and it's because we're in a very competitive jewelry. Jewelry is a very competitive market. Everybody wants to stay, on trend, and as much as we it's hard to keep up with all the trends. We try to be stylish. We are stylish and fashion forward, and appeal to different markets. People who like sort of the leathers and the contemporary matte finishes. We have a whole collection called Shielded that appeals to that market, as well as some other pieces that are a little bit lower end that do really well, $20 and under. So it's just grown. I mean, we kind of can't believe it. It's just, definitely has really grown. And then we have ventured into, testing some clothing and accessories. The textile designs that we designed way back when with Beth Nadler, we had her change out the crosses and to incorporate the shield into our designs. So we have scarves and tunics, and we actually designed some cute little flip-flops with the shield. So we're just, our goal is to create a brand, a purposeful brand with a message.
I love that. For this podcast, we have T-shirts and mugs and stuff, and I just love the reminder, as you wear it, the meaning behind it. So
absolutely.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. If people want to check out the collection, where can they do that at?
We have an online store at gracewearcollection.com. And Gracewear is GRACEWEAR. Collection is singular.com. So that's our online store. And basically, you're going to be able to go on there. We have all kinds of blogging subjects on there that my dear friend, when I said she helps me with my creative, her name is Cheryl Benitez, and she is the one that first gave me the nod that she loved our Shield of Faith design. If you recall the story I told about coming up to me in church, she is very, very talented and does all blogging. So she has incredible content on the site. And we also, tell our testimony and our story. And then we talk about the ministries that we support, which is another aspect of what we do at Gracewear, which is we have a heart for women and children in crisis ministries and have worked through the years with various ministries. But right now, I'd say our big focus is on a ministry called Covenant House, and they provide homeless shelters for teenagers all over the country and a couple outside of the states. And a big focus right now is trafficking, rescuing children off the streets that have been victims of child trafficking. And we really have a heart for that, shielding those girls.
All right. Well, thanks so much for being with me today, Wendy.
All right. Thank you, Amy.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Wendy. There are a few things that I want to take away from this conversation with Wendy. And the first really is about forgiveness and how it is such a freeing decision, but that it really is a very intentional act of obedience. I think sometimes we hold on to things that we need to forgive and just kind of hope the feelings go away, or maybe the person apologizes finally and you can let it go. But really, Wendy's experience shows us that we have to come to a moment where we really surrender and forgive, not dependent on how anybody else, feels about it. And I love how she explained how immediately freeing that was to her. The second thing I love about Gracewear Collection is just how God is using them in this company despite them feeling like this is really their gifting. They say we create and sell jewelry, but we are absolutely not jewelry makers. And I think the important thing here is that they have a message to tell, and then God has directed them on how to share that with the world. I just think we have to be really careful about how we sometimes limit God. You might be tempted to say that there's no way God is calling me to do this or that because that's not my gifting, or I'm not talented in that way. But that is definitely not what we see with Wendy or what we've seen with many people. I just think of, Moses, where he did not feel equipped at all to lead the Israelites. And yet that's exactly the plans God had for him. So hopefully that encourages you. Maybe if you're feeling called to something new and you don't feel equipped or prepared, that God will lead you and He will be with you and He will equip you along the way with the gift or talents, or maybe just the people to come alongside you to get it done. So guys, that's it for this week. Don't forget to share the podcast. You guys are doing an amazing job sharing. We had the most downloads last month than we've ever had. So it's exciting to hear that more people are hearing these stories and being encouraged. So guys, thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next week on Feathers.